Black Cloak provides concierge cybersecurity protection to corporate executives and high net worth individuals to protect against hacking, reputational loss, financial loss, and the impacts of a corporate data breach. Learn more at blackcloak.io.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of On Location with Sean Martin and me, Marco Ciappelli. And actually, today, Sean is not joining us. We just came back from a huge event coverage on location that was Black Hat in Las Vegas. If you know about hacking and cybersecurity, that is what it's all about. Today, I switched gear a little bit into a more familiar territory for me. I'm not familiar with cybersecurity, but I'm definitely not technical or an expert in that aspect. I connected with society. So this event that we're talking about today is the IBC event, which is happening in Amsterdam. It's been going on since 1967. I'm not sure if it was always held in Amsterdam. I'll ask that question to my guest here, which is Mark Smith. He's part of the board at IBC, and I also co-lead the accelerator program. And he'll tell us a little bit more about himself the moment that I say, hello, Mark Smith. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you. Well, thank you for having me here.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Brilliant. It's great to meet you. And yeah, very happy to talk all things IBC. I scare myself sometimes when I think about just how close the event is. It's coming up soon. And, the excitement is building for sure.
You feel the pressure even after this long?
A nice pressure. It's excitement.
It's a good thing. It's healthy. A little bit of pressure. If you go on stage and you're not a little bit nervous, you're doing something wrong, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, it's for me, I've been steeped in the media, technology, entertainment world for more than 30 years. I won't talk about how long, but I was part of the GSMA, which, as you may not know, but it built the Mobile World Congress in Barcelona. Mm-hmm. And I was there for best part of 23 years. So created lots of things there. The Media Innovation Program was part of the team that acquired the Mobile World Congress. And I was head of marketing communications there for 20-something years. So it's in my bloodstream, technology events,
Yeah, and that's really cool. I mean, that's why I follow technology. I mentioned to you before we started, and people that follow me, they know I come from the social technology, social media, communication background as far as college. Then I went in branding and marketing, but I've always been very close to what mass media, as we used to call them, they do for and with society, and the other way around. It's definitely a mirror of that. So entertainment and all of that. So why don't we start with a short history? I mean, I mentioned 1967. At that time, technology was quite different. We were broadcasting. Now we're doing a lot of other things. So when you look back.
Yeah, I think, bigger than the show, though, is just the fact that television is 100 years old this year. The very first, there are differences of opinion about which was the format that won in the end. But I mean, it was, it was 1925 when I think John Logie Baird, who was a student at Strathclyde University in Glasgow, first demonstrated in the labs, the concept of television. And so that we're going to be actually celebrating that a little bit with some of the things we're doing at IBC this year. But yeah, you're right. The show began in 1967 in Brighton in the UK. And I don't know for how long it was there for before it moved. But I think, certainly the origins are in the UK, but it's been in Amsterdam for many years now. And, the Rye Showground is very familiar to people, and the famous beach bar and where everybody congregates at the end of the day. But, we've got 14 halls packed full of media and entertainment technology. It's, with 1,350 exhibitors that are going to be there this year. Amazing, nearly 300 speakers at the show, 45,000 visitors. I could talk a little bit about some of the different halls and what they'll be showcasing.
For people that haven't been there, or people that wants to know maybe what has changed, what is new compared with the past few years, if there is anything that they should know.
So the first I'll just talk through the halls. So if we've got 14 halls 1, 2, and 3 are all about delivery, distribution, and satellite technologies. Hall 4 and 5 are content everywhere, which is about streaming and OTT platforms and cloud services and cybersecurity and app development. The 6 and 7 are post-production, graphics, media production, data storage, that sort of thing. Halls 8 and 10 are multi-technologies, production management, audio and transmission. And then we've got 9, 11, 12 and 13, which are production, cameras, lenses, lighting, video and accessories. And then the one that I'm kind of probably going to be living in for 4 days is Hall 14, which is about future technologies. We call it the Future Tech Hub. And it's all about AI and 5G and ad tech and blockchain and virtual production. And that's where we'll be that's where the home of the Accelerator Media Innovation Program will be, alongside the Future Tech stages, and then the Google Hackathon, Hackfest that's going to be in that hall as well. And then there are a number of outdoor exhibitors as well around Congress Square and outside Hall 13. So lots going on, and more than 45,000 visitors over the 4 days from the 12th to the 15th September.
Yeah, I feel like if I'm going to come, and I'm kind of planning on it to be in Europe at the time, and definitely, I think I'll spend time in the same place where you are. I mean, due to my show talking about technology, society, and how they affect each other, obviously looking at what is coming and where we are, and what is allowed and how is it changing the way we produce content nowadays. Everybody is a content creator. I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing. I'm still trying to figure it out. But the point is that the technology is there, and it's doing things and allowing us to do things that we couldn't even think about 25, 30 years.
Oh, my goodness.
Even less in 1967. Although it was really cool at the time. 1969, we saw images from the moon. So that's pretty cool if you ask me. So anything that is striking you in terms of some innovation that really hit you this year?
Well, I run the innovation program. Shall I talk a little bit about what that is, and then that will give you some context.
You're connected with that. Yeah.
So I started the program with a couple of colleagues back in 2019. Actually, it was just before the pandemic, and I think that was at a stage when the industry was really it accelerated literally the strategies around remote production. I mean, the pandemic kind of forced a lot of that, right, around remote production, decentralized production, and I think helped to accelerate the concept of cloud for media, for example. And there was, at that time, lots of disruptive technologies that were coming down the line, whether it was that move, the big picture, the move from a world of hardware to a world of digital software, IP, that transformative kind of pressure on the industry really did, I think, accelerate and fuel innovation. We saw all hosts of immersive technologies, whether it was AR, VR, mixed reality, immersive kind of HDR, and many of those things, whether it was the world of new forms and levels of connectivity from fiber and 5G in production to all sorts of other kind of regulatory challenges around OTT platforms versus traditional broadcast, So it was in a way, a kind of perfect storm of change. And that's why we created the Accelerator Media Innovation Program, to be a place where buyers and sellers of technology could come together to sort of lay out their challenges, lay out the things that keep them awake at night and things they wanted to learn about. And then we put a framework around it for collaboration. And I think everybody was talking about partnerships back then, but there was nowhere for that to happen. And I think that's why the Accelerator program has come into its own. It's a place where it's a destination and a safe environment for the broadcasters, for the studios, for the OTT platforms, for the rights owners to come together and say, this is what we need to understand better. This is what we need to try and solve, but not take years about it. This needs to be fast. This needs to be a sort of a sprint toward a sort of 6-month program of actually learning and developing solutions. And then at IBC, we showcase them as proof of concepts to show how all these technologies work. So we have run something like 9 projects a year. We've run more than 50 projects since 2019, involving about 350 organizations, from the very biggest to the smallest, to every single kind of household blue chip media and entertainment brand. This year, the key challenges are around, obviously, AI, We've got projects that are looking at kind of a framework for generative AI that sort of enables broadcasters to efficiently create various types of media content, including scripts and highlights and short form videos and that sort of thing. AI assistant agents and agentic AI is really kind of hot this year. And that looks at AI-driven production assistants that seamlessly integrate, control room workflows and things like that, enhancing live production with intelligent automation. We've got projects that are looking at ultra low latency, and companies like Comcast that are driving this, looking at how we can get broadcast-like low latencies, glass to glass, from camera to screen, audience screen, in sort of sub 2 seconds over the internet, over the public internet. Big challenges like that. We've got a project looking at content provenance, stamping your content, which looks at tools that enable organizations to integrate content credentials. C2PA is the content provenance initiative in the industry this year, looking into their workflows, how we can sign and verify media and its sources and where it's been manipulated and things like that. Then a number of other projects looking at things like private 5G. And we've seen projects in the accelerator program that have gone from the lab to the world's biggest sporting events of last year. So this really shows the value of the program, and we're looking at how we take private 5G to the airwaves to cover and to produce programming across long distances where there's like cycle races or marathons from the air. Other projects looking at master control cloud, sustainability in workflows, and multi-vendor kind of software media exchange to look at how formats can be interoperable between each other.
Yeah, I let you go because it's fascinating, because in my head I'm like, it's the convergence of many different technology ultimately that allow us to make the big step into a specific industry, right? I mean, you couldn't do certain things if you the low latency, if you couldn't have the speed of the infrastructure that allow you to do that. Obviously, you're coming from mobile, you know that very well, like 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G. So how fast are we going to go? Obviously, I come, like I said, from cybersecurity events, very fresh, and the buzzword was agentic AI. I mean, you have to, in the SOC, into the way that it helps the human. So I want to go there with you being around this industry for a long time, looking at innovation. How is perceived, and is it welcome? It's like that the nervousness about the way we are actually living with AI and agentic AI. I mean, my point is everybody kind of fearing it? It's like, all right, let's get it, but let's still be in control versus, come on, blinking light, funny noises, let's go.
I work with people that are passionate about technology. And really passionate about innovation in the newsrooms, in the studios, and creative people as well, right? So they're kind of probably excited about this more than anything, because it's an opportunity to take out a lot of laborious processes, right? I think you think about how many processes in production tech. It's kind of quite boring, and can be in a newsroom environment, can be kind of detrimental to health sometimes, some of the content you're seeing. To be able to automate some of these things and to be able to take that boredom out of some of the processes, and actually it's creating jobs as well, right, in many ways. I mean, who would have thought that an AI prompter would be a job? But it really is, right? And you're having to prompt machines now and teach them to learn these processes. I see it as exciting. I see it as a way of revolutionizing the excitement of creating content and the ability to give you more creative choices, right? And to utilize and harness this technology. I think there's been a lot of fear, and I think it's all about whose hands these technologies are in, right? In the context of the world. And I think in my world and in the world of media, it's all about positive use of these technologies to change up the efficiency and the quality and the creativity of media. So I'm excited. The people I work with are all excited about it, and I think it's creating opportunities. I don't think we look at it as a negative.
Yeah, I agree. Now, this is from the production, the industry side. As far as how it reflects into the other side of the screen, let's say the people that watch it, are we creating? I remember a few years ago, and as the streaming industry started growing, even that was quite of a revolution in a way for the regular broadcasting. I'm saying regular and doing the air quotes, and the podcast not really working unless I say that. But kind of like the personalization of the way that people consume. I remember the idea in the sport, like you can choose the camera angle, you're your own director. I think there was an excitement about that. I don't know if people are actually enjoying doing it beside the first time, because actually in the end, I kind of want to trust the director and the guy and the person that is doing that. But what's the reception on the other side? I mean, is this innovation actually working to bring more fidelization to a certain show or program and form of entertainment? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think, it particularly plays well to sports and live sports. And I think live sports fans, for example, just eat this stuff up, right? If they can get different camera, I think absolutely. If they can get different perspectives on the sports and the players that they love, I think, you look at Formula One, you look at football, you look at all the sports. I think these guys just absolutely, the young generation, right? I come from an older generation, but I know from the world of esports, and I know for the world of live sports in some of the most exciting kind of areas, it's still, quite early days in terms of feeding the fans with what they really want. And I think there is some tremendous innovation still to come around some of this. And I think the more immersive fans, real fans, super fans can get, the more exciting it is. But I think there's other opportunities as well in different genres of content. But certainly, I think the live sports world is one that is still massively growing and still massively developing in terms of the way that it's creating content for fans.
Mm-hmm. Is there an area? I believe you said that, but for like more. Like social media content creation, TikTok, of course. I mean, that's at this point is not a novelty anymore. It's the real form of entertainment. It's a real channel. I mean, I know people. It blows my mind. I'm quite old myself. When I was studying sociology of communication, internet was there, but it wasn't as popular. So read the newspaper. You talk about provenance, certifying the content, and I think that's where, when you don't have an editorial team, when you don't have a big name behind the publication or the broadcasting, that you kind of need to know, is it true, is it real, is it fake?
Of course, yeah. I mean, it's interesting here in the UK. Our regulator is Ofcom, of course, and that regulates television. It regulates many things. The BBC. It regulates, communication, mobile, etc., and also some elements of online platforms. And now, Ofcom has just recently reported that YouTube is the second most viewed platform in the UK. And I think that speaks to the volumes, to the growth of streaming and user-generated content, right? Mm-hmm. But yes, absolutely, you're on the money there. That manipulation of content, fake news, manipulation of video, and all sorts of kind of creation of synthetic content is a worry and is a danger. But I think the human nature is that we always find a way to solve some of these problems, solve some of these challenges, to understand these things. And I think we're at the very beginning of an explosion, of course, in many of these things. And that's why the accelerator program is exciting, because we are working on some very specific, but I think very important forms of content, understanding content provenance, understanding the right the way through the value chain, from the creation of content to the management and storage of content, to the distribution of content, to the manipulation of that content. I think we're beginning now to develop ways to really better understand it and to better develop tools that can help users understand where that's come from, and just the value of the, and of course just the accuracy and the value and the provenance, the actual trust in that content is critical, more so now than ever.
Yeah. And as we wrap, these conversations, are they happening in the corridors, in between the halls, or you actually have panels and presentation, and do you have a keynotes? Somebody you want to highlight as we start closing?
We have a main conference which is full of great speakers from across the industry and different industry sectors. We have a host of different stages around the event, whether it's the what we call the showcase stage. We have a content everywhere stage or two. We have a future tech stage, which each of these accelerator programs that I've mentioned, or in the projects, they each get an hour on stage. And a lot of it is free content at IBC, right? Around the different halls that I mentioned, all the themes. There are different stages where you can just turn up. Of course, once you've registered to IBC, you can just turn up and you get amazing content for free. I would also, if I could, just before we wrap, is just talk about something else, which is that we've been working very closely with Google Cloud on a hack fest, and this is the first for IBC, I think, where we are inviting young broadcast engineers and software developers and creatives to come and work on some challenges that we're going to set over the weekend of IBC. There'll be prizes, and we're working with Formula E, the racing car format, electric racing, supporting the Hackfest. But we'll also have an AI coached penalty shootout where you're taking penalties and you're coached by a famous football coach on your football penalty taking style and skills. That's all in Hall 14, as well as many other aspects of AI and other exciting forms of content. So there's something for everyone across the show, but I think innovation is really the buzzword and the power, the fuel for the show this year at IBC.
Yeah, I always go to this event, and CES, of course, here in the United States, and it's a way to look into the future. That's where you put your thinking hat on, you look at a new technology, and you discuss it, and you say, well, what does this really mean, and what is the consequence of something like this, and what kind of new jobs can create, what kind of new content can create. And I'm like you, I can go dystopian to utopian and back in like fraction of a second. But for this industry, in this vertical, which is a vertical with a lot of lateral, of course, a lot of industry involved. I think it's all positive as far as we can control a little bit of the provenance. So that's the big thing.
Absolutely.
With the cybersecurity lens, and then of course there is privacy and identity.
Absolutely, and the value of sports rights, for example, right? Billions these days, right? Just shows how important that content is from a cybersecurity perspective, right? And ensuring that you protect that content is pretty critical to the industry. And so, cyber is a really key issue that we've all got to be on guard with in our industry, and ensure that the value of incredible sporting, but other forms of cinematic content are protected. Absolutely vital.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I want to thank you for your time, Mark. That was fascinating, really something of my interest, but I believe also my listener really enjoy this kind of conversation. So I'm looking forward, hopefully crossing my finger, to actually come there. Come and say hi if I can. Of course, I'll find you. And again, September the 12th to the 15th, 2025, at RAI Amsterdam in the Netherlands, of course. And I will put some links, obviously, to connect with you, with the team, and to visit the website, which is very well done and already exciting. I love.
Thank you, Marco.
I love it.
Thank you so much, Marco. It's been great chatting with you.
Yep, I appreciate it. Everybody stay tuned for more content. And again, if I am there, you'll hear more story directly from the floor. Take care, everybody.
Black Cloak provides concierge cybersecurity protection to corporate executives and high net worth individuals to protect against hacking, reputational loss, financial loss, and the impacts of a corporate data breach. Learn more at blackcloak.io.